all my life needed was a sense of some place to go. I don't believe that one should devote his life to morbid self-attention. I believe that someone should become a person like other people.
Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver is a movie that has stood the test of time, and it remains riveting with every rewatching. In this video, I seek to examine the moments which I personally found most critical to Travis Bickle's radicalization, to what turns him into the would-be assassin and eventual quadruple murderer. The question I wanted to answer is how exactly he goes from being this guy in the opening moments of the film to this guy near the end of the film. I arrived at certain conclusions about Travis's journey, and I thought I would share my thoughts on the matter for whatever they might be worth. Over time, I realized that there were 4 vital and yet subtle scenes which put Travis on his path and which truly define him as a character, so much so in fact that in his own mind he cannot possibly turn back. He is as compelled by his own narrative, which emerges as his inner monologue, as we are as viewers of it. At certain points, it is hard to take our eyes off the transformation that is occurring, the tragic wreck of a person who keeps retreating and descending deeper and deeper into his own delusions. Of course, at times it is slow going, sort of like trying to see the hour hand move on a wristwatch. It's too slow, imperceptible. Oddly, the 4 scenes aren't all that famous. I wish I could talk about Easy Andy, the gun salesman, or Scorsese as the irate, cuckolded husband watching his wife visiting another man's apartment. But these 2 scenes are not among the 4, nor is the abortive assassination attempt, which reveals Travis's cool new hairstyle. My point is that there is a subtlety to Travis's radicalization. Most of the scenes, 3 of the 4 anyway, actually occur surprisingly early on in the film. We already know from the scene on the cot that Travis, Robert De Niro, is desperately searching for a single focus for all his thoughts and feelings. It would be easy to say that Betsy's rejection is what really triggers him, but I see this more as a symptom of his problems than the disease itself. He was, after all, used to being on the margins, as he calls himself, God's lonely man, and taking Betsy to a Times Square porn theater virtually guaranteed that she would see him as someone incompatible and, for sure, unsuitable. The gulf in education alone is kind of shocking, since Travis spends a lot of time pleading ignorance.
How do you feel about the senator's stand on welfare?
I don't really know the senator's stand on welfare, but I'm sure it's a good stand.
Well, I don't follow music too much, but I would really like to. I really would.
So then you haven't heard this record yet?
No.
It was unlikely that this relationship could succeed given the differences in life experience, taste, moral sensibilities, and economic disparity, and especially what they've chosen to do with their lives. Even Travis knows that Betsy is an idealist. The porn date could only work as a joke, creating the exactly wrong vibe for a laugh, but humor and Travis don't go naturally together.
How's your driving record?
It's clean, like my conscience.
Are you gonna break my chops? You don't trouble with guys like you come in and break my chops all the time. If you're gonna break my chops, you can take it on the arches right now, you understand?
In any event, the first of the 4 significant moments occurs quite fittingly in Travis's cab. Soon after Travis asks Betsy out for pie, the candidate she works for, Charles Palantine, played by Leonard Harris, tired of waiting for his limo, climbs into Travis's cab instead. Travis immediately recognizes him.
Going to get us in trouble. I'll tell you.
Are you Charles Palantine, the candidate?
Yes, I am.
After the usual chit-chat,
Let me tell you something. I have learned more about America from riding in taxi cabs than in all the limos in the country.
and Travis lathering up the candidate,
I'm sure you're gonna win, sir. Everybody I know is gonna vote for you.
Palantine, like any good politician, gets down to his business, politics. He turns the conversation toward the voter, Travis, inquiring after Travis's personal issues.
Can I ask you something, Travis?
Sure.
What is the one thing about this country that bugs you the most?
Senator Palantine is probably expecting something about health care, unemployment, pollution, inflation, national security, or the cost of gasoline and car insurance, but Travis has a different answer. Throughout the film, no one else really asks Travis to select just one thing which he would change if he could. Prior to this, he has complained in his diary, which takes the form of a voiceover, about many different things.
Each night when I return the cab to the garage, I have to clean the cum off the back seat. Some nights I clean off the blood. All the animals come out at night. Whores, skunk pussies, buggers, queens, fairies, dopers, junkies, sick, venal.
He sees the city as irredeemable. To him, the people are pure filth, much closer to beasts than humans. He feels sullied, infected, demoralized, and diminished by the decay surrounding him. It would be hard to feel healthy or productive when you are convinced that your life is meaningless and that everyone around you is a kind of human contagion. Palantine's question acts as a catalyst. Travis is modest and argues that he doesn't really follow politics, but Palantine is persistent.
Oh, well, there must be something.
For the first time, Travis is forced to move beyond complaining only and to try to articulate a cogent plan to help solve the problem as he sees it. Palantine forces him to consider what should be done. Though crude, Travis presents the senator with a vague plan of action. He focuses on the city itself.
Take it. Whatever becomes the president should just really clean it up. Flush it right down the fucking toilet.
Palantine's answer is boilerplate, that he knows what Travis means, that radical changes are needed in American society, but it won't be easy. It is here that Travis realizes that neither the politicians nor the police will make a difference, at least in the short run. After this exchange with the senator, Travis's ideation becomes more paranoid. He begins to think in terms of defending himself from others. Later, in his inner monologue, he begins to think of himself as the heroic central character who will cleanse the city of its worst elements.
Here is a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the cunts, the dogs, the filth, the shit. Here is someone who stood up.
To Travis, it is vital that someone do something about the rampant crime and filth in the city before it's too late, and if Senator Palantine is either unable or unwilling to do so, then it will fall to Travis and people like him to set things right. The second of the four scenes occurs a few days after the abortive attempt to take Betsy, Sybil Shepherd, to the pornographic cinema. She leaves in consternation, later refusing to accept either Travis's peace offerings or his apologetic phone calls. Distraught, he comes into Palantine headquarters to confront the young lady in person. Her co-worker, Tom, Albert Brooks, tries to defuse the situation by hustling Travis out of the office, but to no avail.
Why won't you talk to me? Why don't you answer my calls when I call? You think I don't know you're here?
Let's not have any trouble.
I don't know? You think I don't know?
Near the doorway, Travis, annoyed by Tom, suddenly reacts with restraint, but also implied violence. It occurs rapidly, like an animal warning you to stay away.
Leave. This isn't the place to do that. Okay. Take your hand up. Okay, then just leave. Take it off. All right, just leave there.
Prior to this, Tom seemed to believe that Travis was all talk and no action, but he is disabused of this notion rather shockingly and suddenly. Violence, or the threat of violence, is now Travis's first response to a perceived or misperceived threat. It's no longer a last resort. If Travis believes that Tom is either a physical threat to him or even a rival for Betsy, Travis must be watching another movie, but definitely not Scorsese's Taxi Driver. Travis was a Marine and could probably disable or kill Tom if he chose to. To say the least, Travis's reaction is really a massive overreaction to a non-existent threat. It exposes a grave weakness in Travis. He is incapable of properly evaluating who his enemies are, nor how to effectively deal with them. Unless it is a battle of wits or comedy chops, Tom poses no threat to anyone. In life, a person needs to choose their fights judiciously. Travis wants to be heard by Betsy, not dismissed or thrown away, so he makes his irritation known. Now that she has spurned his advances, he sees her as being like all the other people who have rejected him throughout his life.
Look, come on!
You're in a hell, and you're gonna die in a hell like the rest of them.
Come on now! There's a cop across the street.
You're like the rest of them.
Look, I'm calling the cops. Officer!
This is Travis's own idea of an insult. You're like the rest of them. But it's unclear if Betsy even understands what this means exactly. Travis likes to believe that people are as he imagines them to be. He ascribes roles to them. Even before this regrettable incident in the office, and even at the end of the film, Betsy had represented something like purity, which makes taking her to an erotic film even more bizarre, though it is possible that Travis was signaling that what he wanted most was to defile her. Tom is not his enemy, though Travis has built him into something in his mind. Later on, after meeting Sport, Iris's boyfriend pimp, played by Harvey Keitel, and the brothel timekeeper, played by Murray Moston, Travis decides that they too are his enemies. He tells Iris that Sport is probably a murderer. It becomes much easier to threaten others when you convince yourself that someone is a positively dreadful human being.
Well, you're the one that's square, man. I don't go screw and fuck with a bunch of killers and junkies the way you do. You call that being hip?
It's easy with Sport and the Timekeeper. They may well be enemies of mankind, of goodness, and of basic decency, but they pose no threat to Travis personally. Just consider the way in which he ultimately disposes of them. Travis vaporizes the Timekeeper's fingers on his right hand, and earlier he shoots Sport in the stomach, which guarantees that he'll probably die in intense pain. He eventually finishes off Sport, but the Timekeeper is really made to suffer, including having a knife stabbed right through his unaffected hand. Although he keeps repeating an empty threat about killing Travis, unsurprisingly it is his brains, not Travis's, which end up decorating the walls of Iris's small room. To me, the threatening karate pose with Tom, his perceived enemy, is the beginning of an inexorable process that leads to the premeditated murders of two other perceived enemies, as well as another man, apparently someone Sport had to kick up to, who was visiting with Iris when the shooting began. Though these two men are certainly threatening and detestable, as well as well armed, the violence against them was nevertheless entirely avoidable. Of course, Travis believes the opposite.
Now I see it clearly. My whole life is pointed in one direction. I see that now.
Still, this is not how the viewer would tend to see Travis's actions, either in the Palantine campaign headquarters or in the brothel later on. Murdering those exploiting Iris was not necessary and seems like Travis's personal choice, an elective decision to choose bloodshed. The third scene which becomes significant in Travis's radicalization occurs outside the famous Belmore cafeteria, when Travis requests a moment with the Wizard, played by Peter Boyle. Travis discloses that he has descended into an oddly dark place, that he has begun to fixate on what he describes as bad thoughts.
Just want to go out and like really do something.
The Wizard is sympathetic to these feelings and gives Travis the benefit of his experience. His philosophy of life is that after a time a man becomes his job. He argues that Travis should simply accept his circumstances, even though taxi life, as the Wizard calls it, driving until dawn each day, only allows Travis to see the city in the worst possible light. The Wizard wants to ease Travis's mind, but he is unaware how detached and alienated Travis has become. He says that he feels sure that Travis will be all right and get over these feelings of needing to get into some kind of trouble.
Don't worry so much. Relax, killer, you're gonna be all right.
Of course, the Wizard does not really know what is troubling Travis. From what the viewer is shown, Travis is a void, waiting to be filled in certain ways. He is a soldier, awaiting a mission of some kind, but there is no real war to fight. He needs to do something, but he's still unaware what that should be. Nevertheless, he rejects the Wizard's homespun wisdom with mockery.
I don't know, that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Travis cannot see the logic of accepting life as it comes. He desperately wants to be proactive, to determine things. He does not want to be just the guy who cleans out the back seat of his cab each night. He is humiliated by his circumstances and longs to be someone of consequence. He is considering all kinds of things he might do, possibly related to cleaning up the city, but again, he cannot really fathom how he would effectuate such a plan. He doesn't even know what he's trying to convey to the Wizard.
I mean, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
I don't know, maybe I don't know either.
At one point, the Wizard opines that he envies Travis's youth, but as George Bernard Shaw said, and everyone else knows, youth is wasted on the young. The Wizard speaks in common sense, pragmatic terms, and tries to demonstrate sympathy for his troubled colleague, to help him overcome the crisis he appears to be undergoing. He seems to genuinely care about Travis, perhaps seeing some of who he once was years before. This moment is significant, that the Wizard is probably right, that Travis can't really do much to change anything, and that Travis would be better off accepting his fate and moving on from his bad thoughts and evil deeds.
Because you got no choice anyway. I mean, we're all fucked. More or less, you know?
It is at this moment that Travis really could turn back, re-enter society. The Wizard kind of makes a case for this, the acceptance of his life and fate. But Travis's rejection of the Wizard, and the Wizard's advice, is a reenactment of the rejection that Travis tells us has followed him his entire life. Rather than make a human connection with the Wizard, Travis summarily dismisses the older driver, shoves him aside hard. This is what Travis does again and again. He refuses to listen, kind of dismisses the person in front of him and then moves even deeper into his own psychopathology. The wizard's advice, to enjoy his youth, is overall a better plan than anything Travis ends up coming up with on his own. It is soon after rejecting the wizard's philosophy as the dumbest thing he's ever heard that Travis very nearly runs into Iris and her friend with his cab. This is their second meeting, if you can call it that, and it seems to act as a catalyst. He seeks her out, and after that they agree to have breakfast the next afternoon. This, in my view, is the fourth of the 4 scenes which completes his radicalization. It is Travis's breakfast, brunch actually, with Iris. As with the wizard, once again Travis cannot really hear the things that Iris is saying to him. For example, she says that she may leave whenever she wishes and that she is not being beaten or threatened or held against her will. There is another path here. If he wanted, he could have whisked Iris to safety right then and there. She wishes to go to Vermont, which is only 5 hours' drive from the city. This means that the extreme violence and murder that Travis subsequently perpetrates is not only unnecessary, but also traumatizing to Iris, who's only 12 years old after all. Because of Travis, she witnesses not 1 but 2 murders, both of men she knows, one in an exceedingly graphic, nearly R. Bud Dwyer-esque way, right in front of her eyes. And of course there's sports murder as well. It is doubtful that she will be the same after this, though as an underage sex worker, she has no doubt seen way too much already. Throughout Brunch, Travis insists that Sport is a killer. Again, we aren't entirely sure what he bases this on, but Sport is certainly a huge lowlife, and probably not that far removed from being who Travis says he is. Nevertheless, the point here is that Travis constantly judges without knowing exactly who people are.
I saw in your eyes and I saw the way you carried yourself that you're not a happy person. And I think you need something. And if you want to call it a friend, you can call it a friend.
As usual, Travis is preoccupied with his inner monologue, which invariably drowns out all logic, restraint, and common sense. In Taxi Driver, Travis is able to fabricate a machine which delivers a gun into his hand with great efficiency, yet he is incapable of heeding the words of either the wizard, Iris, or Betsy. There is something about Travis's talking to the mirror which struck me. It's like he has made a choice to listen to the only opinion which ultimately matters to him, his own. After only briefly meeting Sport, Travis decides that he is unworthy of life and that killing him would be doing society a favor. At a certain point, Betsy recommends a Chris Christopherson album, and Travis purchases it but ultimately fails to listen to it or heed the writer's words. With Iris, he does not think about what's best for such a young girl, getting her out of the brothel without violence, so instead, he simply acts on all his bad ideas, those increasingly violent fantasies which he mentioned to the wizard. There was an alternate path open to him that would spare Iris, but a simple non-violent approach doesn't interest Travis. And Travis hears Iris's request that he spare the timekeeper. But he does not want to stop until his violent urges are fully satisfied and he has ended the timekeeper's existence. From the brunch forward, Travis is set on his path of destruction. He sincerely wants to help Iris get out of her situation, but he wishes to do it solely on his own terms, in the most violent, ruthless, and intense way he can imagine. Somehow he feels that it would be better for the perpetrators of such indignities to truly suffer. Simply jumping in the cab or a rental car and heading north with Iris is not enough. This kind of quiet heroism does not get one mentioned in the newspaper. He needs to be recognized. He wants everyone to know what he did, that he stepped up. Betsy, Wizard, Doughboy, Charlie T, and perhaps even his parents, and of course the rest of the tri-state area. They must take notice. In his own mind, in any event, violence is the only thing of consequence that he can do to get noticed, the only thing he shows any aptitude for, and the only way he could ever rise above the crowd. He wants to be acknowledged as someone who said enough is enough and would not take it anymore. After the 4 aforementioned trigger points, ordinary Travis inevitably becomes dangerous, unbalanced, extreme, delusional Travis, who isn't squeamish about doing the things that he feels need doing. As he makes clear to Senator Palantine, the city cannot be saved, it must be flushed. Travis is compelled to help in some way, to rescue at least one person from the cruelty and venality of the city, but it's also jumbled up, so dysfunctionally expressed, that he believes that the only good he can do must necessarily take the form of murder and mayhem, albeit towards those he knows are perfect embodiments of what he most despises, sexual exploiters. He knows that he needs to do something, that he doesn't just want to stand around witnessing the degradation of his community, but in the end he fails to recognize that the abasement of society is not redressed by making the city an even more foreboding, frightening, violent, traumatizing, and alienating place. No matter how much trash he takes out and how dirty he gets in the process, there is ultimately no end to it. There will always be another sport and another timekeeper to take their place, just in another creepy tenement a few blocks further on. So there you have it, the 4 key moments in Taxi Driver which end up leading mindful Travis into becoming murderous, vengeful Travis. Thank you very much for watching. I'm very grateful for your interest in and support of this channel. Please like or subscribe or both should it suit you. I hope you will return to watch other videos.
I hope this card finds you all well as it does me. I hope no one has died. Don't worry about me. Love, Travis.